This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
It is the After Party live on a Friday. Did we make it to Friday? Woohoo! Yes. It's the After Party where we kind of take a deep breath and bring it down a little bit. We've got At the Movies with Sika coming up in just a few minutes, and some good stories as well. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for waiting, and thank you for spending your time here on the After Party live with me. I appreciate everyone who is here today. Hi to Heather. Hi to Nola Fidian. Wes is here. That's awesome. Tammy is here. SJ Lola. Love it. Thank you guys for being here so much. Teacher is here. So good. So good. Yeah. Hi, Teacher Lori. Very nice. So glad you guys could all make it. And I wonder if you have seen this. I think it's an interesting sculpture. I'm familiar with the sculpture because it came from Petaluma, and this is where it was born. There's a sculptor that is based in Petaluma, and they have this yard where they put all their sculptures, and you can see them rising up. They're all meant for Burning Man, but from time to time they do a installation in Petaluma first. Before then, they moved the statues to other places. And that's what happened with, it probably has a different name. I like to call her the Naked Lady. The Naked Lady is now in San Francisco. She was in Petaluma, and the way the light shines through her is amazing. Now, though, she's in San Francisco. You can see her here in front of the Ferry Building. I think she's really cool, but there are some people complaining a little bit about the Naked Lady statue. There's a report that people aren't so happy that she's blocking the view of the Ferry Building. She's 45 feet tall. She really is enormous. She was originally supposed to be in the Union Square area, but now she's been erected, put up alongside the Embarcadero. She's made of fabricated steel rod and tubing, and she looks different depending on the light and the time of day. She's got these geodesic triangles. She's covered by stainless steel mesh, and it creates this interplay of light and form. She is supposed to symbolize feminine strength and empowerment. She was first created for the Burning Man in 2015. And again, she was supposed to be in Union Square from February through the end of May, but they said there's some engineering complexities to getting her there. So they scrapped that plan. And now here she is at the Embarcadero area. The problems were apparently that she weighs a lot, and they thought she could crack the granite tiles in the Park Plaza. She's about 13,000 pounds because of all the steel anchoring, and they had to add a plate that added another 16,000 pounds. So that's why they put the statue up on the Embarcadero instead of the Ferry Building. They unveiled it yesterday, April 10th. And now here she stands. They had some live music. There was a big celebration going on there. The artist's name is Marco Cochran, and he is from Petaluma, right in my hometown over here. He was born in Italy, raised in Northern California, self-taught, and the statue is really, really beautiful. So I'm telling you, the way the light shines through her, it's magical. So there she is in front of the Ferry Building. Some people don't want a naked lady in front of the Ferry Building. There's some complaints going on with that, but I like her. I think she's cool. There is what we have, the end of the road for the toll plaza. On the Richmond San Rafael Bridge, they're getting rid of the toll booths and the toll plaza. That's it. We don't need it anymore. Apparently, we have graduated now. Electronically, they take your money. Now, I would think they would need to still have the toll booths there to snap your pictures as you're going through. But the Richmond San Rafael Bridge will be the first in California to remove the toll booth plaza. there's always a bottleneck, always a traffic jam at the tolls on the Richmond San Rafael Bridge. And they're calling the toll booths antiquated, say we don't need it anymore. So it's the first state owned bridge in California to embrace what's called open road tolling. That is supposed to lighten up the congestion, ease up the traffic jam, and let us ride on through. The MTC says they're going to start replacing the toll booths that had been occupied by people taking your money up until 2020. And they are going to, within weeks, start pulling out the booths. That's it. They say by removing the toll booths, it will allow for a comprehensive reconfiguration of the lanes as well. It's the first bridge to welcome this whole idea of open tolling because it has this severe traffic backlog during the commute hours. So they think that that's going to ease up traffic westbound 580 for so many people. Now we've got the fast track for tolling. And right now, after the 3 lanes converge on 580, they sink down into just 2 lanes, and then you're, stuck kind of trudging over the bridge. They say that the bridge is due for a full redesign by restriping the lanes to eliminate weaving and merging conflicts. They're going to build some type of thing over the roadway for a new toll collection system before they pull out the antiquated toll booths. So it'll be what's called a gantry. I guess it's probably something hovering with cameras or zappers to zap the money out of your transponder. Yeah. They expect the new approach to the bridge to debut westbound on 580 by early 2026. And I can see them doing this with all the bridges, this starting with the Richmond San Rafael and moving on. I think it would be more of a problem to get rid of the tolls on the Golden Gate. They're kind of historical in a way. I would be sad to see them go because the toll plaza, it's kind of, I don't know, it looks like it's just part of our history. I'm not so sad to see them go on the Richmond San Rafael Bridge. If they can make it so that when many lanes merge down into 2 across the deck, I think that'll be good. It turns out that you've heard the stories about people that are married, have more longevity, or they're healthier, what have you. That somehow having a spouse keeps you in line, maybe makes you emotionally healthier. Now it turns out having a pet does the same thing. That pets boost our well-being just as much as a spouse does. That's good news. Sometimes it's easier to get along with an animal. Yes, a new study suggests that pets could boost well-being as much as a wife or a husband. Having a cat or dog to keep you company could increase your well-being as much as being married or meeting up regularly with friends or relatives. This is a study that was published in the journal Social Indicators Research. They say having an animal companion is worth about $90,000 a year in life satisfaction. They used metric economics to quantify the implicit price of intangible things. The figure, they write, is about the same as a theoretical boost in income that you'd get from having a spouse or meeting up with friends or relatives. The results surprised one of the researchers. They said when they first got the values, they were surprised, thinking that's a lot of money, even for this person who loves pets. The study done out of the University of Kent economics department, they said most people claim their pets are like friends or family members to them, so it's actually kind of comparable. If pets are indeed like friends and family, then why shouldn't that measure be comparable to talking to friends and family once a week? You've got your pet with you every day. The mental and physical health benefits of having a dog in particular are well known, they say. There's more debate among them about the impact of pets on their owner's well-being. They say it's a little more complicated than you would think, that a lot of people perceive their pets as contributing to life satisfaction, but depending on how you measure that in research, it can come out in different ways. So I think this is great. And it makes perfect sense to me that pets would provide you joy and happiness that would improve your mental health. So, yeah. If the pets improve life satisfaction as much as the study suggests, the study researchers say that we should be making it easier for people to have them, like relaxing regulations on renters' access, these kinds of things. So, one thing they warn against, though, is something they call anthropomorphizing your pets, equating them with relationships with other humans. They say that's not healthy. Don't do that. Though there are some elements that are similar, we know they say that social support and emotional support are key aspects of human pet relationships that are similar to the types of support we get from human social connections. They say, though, while animals are connected to us in powerful ways, they are not the same as humans. So, this is something that I think is important to note. But does it surprise you, do you think, that we have this connection to pets? I'm not surprised by this. That it is similar in social and emotional health to a marriage? No, I think that's cool. All right. How about this? We talk a lot about negative things coming out of government. What do you think about this story? The FDA is replacing animal testing with AI-based experiments and other methods. They are making this regulatory change. The goal is to improve drug safety, to accelerate the evaluation processing, and to reduce animal experimentation. They hope in doing all this, it'll actually lower research and development costs and lower drug prices. The change makes greater use of AI while developing and testing new drugs. The FDA Commissioner Martin Makary said for too long, drug manufacturers have performed additional animal testing of drugs that have data in broad human use internationally. And so they say by leveraging AI-based computational modeling, human organ model-based lab testing, and real-world human data, that we can get safe treatments to patients faster and more reliably while reducing the R&D and the drug prices. They say it's a win-win for public health and for ethics as well, because they won't have to test on animals as much. The change means the lives of thousands of animals, including dogs and primates, will be spared every year as these new tests are implemented. So that's good for animals. It could be good for us. And we like to highlight the positives. What would the negatives be? We have been doing things the way we've always been doing things, and we've seemed to have this safety standard that's pretty high. But I think if this works, this could be, as they say, a win-win for everyone. All right, it is time. I managed to get the link to him, and now we have Tim Sika. It is At the Movies with Tim Sika. Tim, welcome to the After Party Live yet again.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good. So, we had a lot of movies with Michael Snyder on the Mark Thompson show, and I'm excited to see what you're reviewing this week. You've got some good ones on your list.
Yeah, the first one, I guess, yeah, it's the first, the big studio release. It's called The Amateur.
Yeah.
And yeah, Oscar-winning actor Rami Malek, who won Best Actor for Bohemian Rhapsody. He played Freddie Mercury of Queen in that. In 2018, won the Academy Award for Best Actor. But in The Amateur, he plays this CIA cryptographer whose wife was murdered in this London terrorist attack. And so he goes rogue and he embarks on this one-man mission to hunt down his wife's killer. So that's the movie in a nutshell. It's essentially a revenge thriller.
Okay.
Very formulaic with, very familiar beats that become really old really fast, and plot twists which were unsurprising and predictable, to say the least.
Oh
With
no.
yeah, with a message and an ending, and without giving away that ending, that wants to have its message of revenge and internal institutional corruption, wants to have it both ways. So this
Mhm.
isn't a bad movie. It's just not a very good one, in the sense that there's nothing new here, nothing we haven't already seen before. It's pretty standard stuff. And in terms of story, all of the film's narrative threads don't always cohere. The
Mhm.
standout element, though, in the movie is the performance of Rami Malek. He's a very unusual actor. He has this unusual look, and
Mhm.
he brings all of that to bear in this movie. He makes some really interesting choices as an actor portraying this particular character, and he's just consistently interesting to watch. He makes the movie worthwhile, in my opinion, and frankly bearable. But the movie, unless you're, a Rami Malek completist and you also happen to love revenge thrillers, I think you can skip it without any remorse whatsoever. It's not going to affect your life one way or another if you
Oh,
happen to pass on this movie.
it's such a bummer because both you and Michael Snyder were like meh on this one, and I thought it could be a really good movie. This could be a good one, but both of you were like, yeah, it doesn't really ever get there.
Yeah, no, it just, yeah, it doesn't. What do they say? It doesn't stick the landing. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, it's a
So
bummer.
yeah. Mm.
Let's talk about Warfare. This one seems interesting as well.
Yeah, intense and unrelenting and inexorably grueling are the best
Mm,
ways to begin talking about this movie, Warfare, which is an Iraq war drama that follows in real time this platoon of Navy SEALs on this mission through insurgent territory in Iraq in November 2006 during the final stages of the Battle of Ramadi. So, yeah, the film is co directed by Alex Garland, whose most recent film was Civil War, which we talked about on the after party,
mhm,
and Ray Mendoza, whose own Iraq war experiences served as the basis for this screenplay. So, this is real lived stuff
mhm,
we're watching on screen. It's superbly crafted, which, it painfully and realistically evokes the horrors of war and puts the viewer front and center, right in the battle, right smack dab
mhm,
in the conflict. So it's not pretty, and it's not a fun experience watching this movie, but it is an excellent film if you can stand it. And watching, Kim, watching this movie, experiencing this movie, taking in this movie really makes you wonder how the men and women who fight wars of this intensity even come through it, come out
mhm,
of it at all. I mean, it's so intense. I recommend it. It's not for the squeamish, so the squeamish need not apply. But for those looking to get as close as possible to the experience of the hell that is war on screen, this is one of the best movies that achieves that, and really is kind of a textbook movie dramatization of the idiom war is hell.
mhm.
If you want to recommend a movie that that lives up to that axiom, this is the one. It's awfully good, but it was not fun in any way, shape,
Really?
or form. Yeah.
It seems like a movie that maybe anyone going into the military should watch before they do it, maybe?
Yeah, then maybe they would regret having signed up for the military.
I don't know. Well, I
Yeah, I
mean,
don't know. Yeah,
or you know what you're getting into,
yeah, you would
you know?
definitely know what you were getting into. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
How about this
So
one? Thank you very much.
thank you very much. This may very well be, in my opinion, the definitive documentary on Andy Kaufman, the controversial
Oh,
comedian, who most people probably know best from the sitcom Taxi, where
mhm,
he played Latka Gravis,
totally.
his foreign man character, and later for about 3 or 4 episodes anyway, his alter ego, that annoying and obnoxious lounge lizard, Tony Clifton. Remember Tony Clifton?
Mhm,
Anyway, so this movie, thank you very much. It's directed by Alex Braverman. It's a really fascinating and illuminating portrait of Andy Kaufman's weird and most of the time uncomfortable comedy, his personal life, and his career, which can kind of be summed up by, I think it was Danny DeVito who said in the movie that Andy's messing with reality is everything that Andy Kaufman was about, and that his act, a vehicle for transcending. He didn't take you out. He took you in. Was all about audience embarrassment and about a guy who shouldn't be there on stage. That kind of sums up this guy's weird humor. And so the film covers Kaufman's surreal beginnings at SNL. He was on the first season, to him reading The Great Gatsby on stage. I mean, he would read the entire novel on stage and people would be like screaming at him to get off and he wouldn't. And to his bizarre dating game appearance, I remember that one, to his just standing on stage next to a record player playing the Mighty Mouse theme while he stood there on stage miming the record, to his appearance at Carnegie Hall, which one of his dancers in that act actually had a heart attack and died on stage.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and then there was all this wrestling. Remember all that wrestling of the ladies he did? He would challenge women to wrestling matches. And then that character of Tony Clifton, all of this is impressively chronicled in this movie, which also serves as a kind of a psychological portrait of this one-of-a-kind comedy genius. I never thought I would ever admit that in public. I've never been convinced that Kaufman was little and nothing more than a mentally disturbed person with loads of ambition and chutzpah. But until I saw this movie, which makes a very compelling and practically unimpeachable case for the genius of Kaufman's art. If you've never heard of Andy Kaufman, you have to see this, because it really does penetrate the veil of Andy Kaufman and provides this potent glimpse into who this guy was and what he at least attempted to achieve through his totally unhinged brand of comedy. And if you think you already know Andy Kaufman, there's still lots of compelling stuff here, rare and never before seen footage that will only add to what you think you already know about this guy. So I recommend people checking it out. Bay Area folks can avail themselves of it at the Roxy Theater in San Francisco, where it is currently playing. So yeah,
So
it's
at the
awfully good.
Roxy
Yeah,
and at select theaters. Is it online streaming yet?
not yet, but I'm sure it
Okay.
will be soon. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Let's go to Sacramento.
Yeah, as in California, this is
Mhm.
this is a man-child comedy. That's the best way to describe it, about these two best friends who go on this road trip together from LA to Sacramento to scatter the ashes of the father of one of them who recently passed away. Basically, it's a two-hander comedy, at times a cringe comedy. It stars Michael Angarano, who also wrote and directed. Yeah, he's in there. Where is he? He's one of the guys in the poster there. And Michael Cera as the two best friends. Kristen Stewart plays the pregnant wife of Michael Cera, and Maya Erskine plays the estranged former girlfriend and mother of the Michael Angarano character's baby. So this is what I like to call a ragtag indie. It's a personal movie, little movie about friendship, the difficulties of friendship. It's about personal responsibility and being an adult and what that means. I think what do the Gen Zers call it? Adulting. I think that's
Adulting.
what adulting.
Mhm.
That's what this movie is about. I think it's a good movie for Gen Zers to see, and despite the fact that it's a little uncomfortable watching the dynamics of this dysfunctional friendship play out on screen,
Mhm.
I like this film. I found it sweet and unpretentious. There was a scooch of wisdom thrown in here for good measure. It boasted very fine across the board acting. It was a gentle reminder to us all that, blame in life is a total waste of energy.
Mhm.
What did Dustin Hoffman say to Steve McQueen and Papillon? He said, "The blame is for God and small children." I always remember that line. I thought that, yeah. Anyway, it also serves as this kind of reminder, this movie, that all of our actions have consequences, and that the best way to get on in life is to just take ownership of what we do, what our actions are, and just get on with the business of living. Anyway, that was my takeaway from this movie, which I really, really enjoyed very much, and I recommend.
Okay, Sacramento. The next one is called The Luckiest Man in America, or The Luckiest
Yeah,
in
yeah,
America? Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. The luckiest man in America. This is a somewhat flawed, but still reasonably interesting drama about this. I'd never heard of this. It was about this game show scandal that involved this program called Pressure Luck in the mid 1980s. I think it was 1984. But more specifically, it's about the guy who was at the center of the scandal. His name was Michael Larson. This guy with a somewhat checkered past. He was always dabbling in financial fraud and getting rich quick schemes and related dubious activities. Anyway, he's played beautifully here in this movie by Paul Walter Hauser, who's in the poster there. And the game show so-called controversy stemmed from the fact that Larson, when he appeared as a contestant on Pressure Luck, he won a record-breaking amount of money. It was something like $110,000, which is like equivalent now to something like $350,000. But the producers of the show, as this was going on and unfolding on live television, as Larson was winning dollar amount after dollar amount, the producers thought he was cheating. But it turned out, after an investigation, that he had, in fact, through observation of these light patterns on the game board, figured out the game and memorized it. In other words, he had gamed the system, which it could be persuasively argued meant that he was not cheating at all. He just figured out what they were doing, and he discovered the formula. So that's enough here for me to recommend this movie. After researching, though, the actual so-called scandal, which appeared to me, anyway, to amount to just some awkward live television moments, in retrospect, it doesn't seem like much of a scandal at all, or maybe even one that would warrant this kind of treatment. To me, it seems like a much ado about nothing thing. Today, certainly, I doubt that this occurrence, given our warped social fabric in the era of Trump, would even get any notice. I mean, so that said,
this is tame compared, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's nothing. I mean, I don't think people would bat an eyelash, if this happened, nobody would notice it. But that said, I think the movie would have fared better if it had been more about the guy, Michael Larson, and his character, his past, and that kind of thing, and less about the Pressure Luck scandal per se. With that just being one of the chapters in this guy's life. I suppose that's carping, but still, what else did I? The music score, although it's really great music that's composed for this movie, the music score is way too big a character in this movie. It's almost intrusive at times. Like you're going, well, what the? Anyway, that was obviously deliberate, but weird. And would from time to time take you out of the film to listen to the music. But all that aside, I still think it's a worth checking out film. If for nothing else, like, The Amateur and Rami Malek, worth seeing for the central performance by Paul Walter Hauser, who's awfully good in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay. The next one is streaming, and it's called The Lifeless.
We talked about this movie last week, or rather, you talked about it. Yeah. Having raved about it and recommended that I check it out, which I did, and I have to agree with you and your general assessment that here lies a really good film, one of the better Netflix films about this young woman, played by Sophia Carson in the poster there, who before she can receive her inheritance, is given a series of tasks to perform by her late mother via a number of pre-recorded DVDs. Her mom is played by Connie Britton. I love Connie Britton. I'll watch anything Connie Britton is in. But anyway, her mother recorded this series of things for her daughter to do before she could claim her inheritance, based on a list, the life list of the title, that the daughter made when she was 13. Goals that the daughter wanted to achieve, which the mom thought maybe the daughter had long since forsaken, and wasn't living her best life. So yeah, I mean, this movie was a nice movie. It was a nice surprise. Well, actually, I wasn't surprised. I mean, you had raved over it about it, but it's it's about. It's relatable to, I mean, aside from rom-com, which I'll get to, but it was a nice story about how so many of us will give up our youthful goals and dreams and aspirations as we get older and wind up instead playing it safe, with life, settling and foregoing that notion of living our best lives because, we figure, it's too impractical. I'm getting too old. It's too complicated, or whatever excuse we give ourselves. And all this stuff that I just mentioned is wrapped up in a love story between the Sophia Carson character and the young lawyer, executor of the mom's estate, played by Kyle Allen, who when I was watching this movie, I actually met Kyle Allen 4 or 5 years ago at a Netflix party
Really?
in Los Angeles. He had just starred in this fantasy rom-com called The Map of Tiny Perfect Things about two teenagers stuck in a time loop. And yeah, he was very shy and self-effacing and nice and sweet, like the character he plays in The Life List. So I think he was playing a lot of himself in this movie based on, my interactions with him. Anyway,
Mhm.
he was also in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. He played one of the Jets. But anyway, yeah, nice movie, full of a lot of genuine emotion. One of the last scenes in the movie, I, will have if people are with this movie. There's a close to the end scene that will have people grabbing for their Kleenex. The one where the
Yeah.
daughter appears with her mom in the last DVD
Yeah.
she made before she died. Oh my God, that got
I
to
was
me. And
crying.
oh
This
man,
movie is so funny too. It has such a
yeah,
quick-witted script, and
yeah.
it's surprising how amusing it is, and you just kinda find yourself wrapped up in the story, and you're laughing because it's funny, and then you're crying because it's emotional, and yeah, it's
Yeah,
one of those movies. I was so surprised to find this random Netflix movie that was so good.
yeah, and nobody, it's not getting a lot of push.
Right.
Netflix will occasionally email us critics saying, "Hey, look for this movie, watch for this movie." This just came out of left field, and I
Yeah.
would not have seen it had you not recommended it. But we're talking about it now because we want people to see it because it really
Yeah.
is good. I did think, okay, so I'm going to be a little grouchy here. I did. I
Mhm.
did think the events in the movie at times were a bit kind of too coincidental.
Yeah.
The lawyer just happened to be doing pro bono work at a women's shelter,
Mhm.
who just happened to be looking for a teacher to
Yeah.
finish out the term, as well as the guy that she met on the subway while reading
Don't
Moby Dick.
question it,
Ju-
Tim. Don't question it. Sometimes life works in
I
mysterious ways, my friend.
you are absolutely right. I'm not going to argue. Yeah, I know I can't help but seeing these things. But here's the thing, and you're right about this, Kim. If you
Mhm.
get caught up in the emotion of the piece, none
Mhm.
of what I said just matters. A lot of the movies I really love, if I go back and look at them, I'm going, wait a minute, this is like such happenstance. This doesn't happen in
Mhm.
real life, but it can. It's possible. It might be unlikely, but yeah, yeah. So yeah,
I I
it's a
asked
good movie.
my
Good.
I asked my mom if she, because we always, if we get a good one, we say, "Oh, watch this one."
Yeah,
And I said, "Have you seen The Life List?" And she said, "Oh my gosh, the movie is so great." So
yeah,
everyone I've
yeah.
talked to that watches it really likes it as well. At
Yeah.
first, I thought, "Was I just in a good mood when I watched this movie or what?"
No,
But I
no,
really
no.
loved it. Yeah.
No, I actually watched it twice
Oh, wow.
because you had praised it so highly, and I wanted to just see if it had that same effect. It was just an excuse for me to be lazy that day. I watched it. I watched it. I don't know, a few days after you had recommended it, and then just yesterday I watched it
Oh,
again, and it was just as good. It's a really good movie based on
yeah.
some book that I never heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, nice movie. Yeah,
I
if you
hope
want a
you
good cry.
I hope you take this review and email it to them so that they know we really liked it a lot.
I'm going to do that. I am going
Good.
to do that. Yeah, I
Right.
will. I absolutely will.
Tim Sika's classic movie recommendation of the week, Ship of Fools.
Ship of Fools. Yeah, we've been recommending a number of films who have been celebrating their 60th anniversary this year. Dr. Zhivago and The Sound of Music being just two of those movies. So I'm thinking, okay, why not recommend this next classic movie, Ship of Fools, which I had forgotten about, which was also released in 1965, and it's celebrating its 60th anniversary, and which, Kim, at the time of its release, was considered the quintessential definition of a Hollywood adult picture. And I'll try to explain that. But it's based on Catherine Ann Porter's novel of the same name, which is still on my books to read list. I keep meaning to read this book. I just never getting around to it. Anyway, the screenplay adaptation is by Abby Mann, and the movie was produced and directed by Stanley Kramer. And it's basically Grand Hotel at sea, with all the action taking place instead of a hotel on board an ocean liner that's bound for Bremerhaven, Germany from Veracruz, Mexico in 1933. So it's an ocean liner, people with a cross section of society whose stories interconnect and intertwine. And we have a great cast here: Oscar Werner, Simone Signoret, Lee Marvin, George Segal, Elizabeth Ashley, and the great Vivian Lee in her final screen appearance. They're all fantastic. Stanley Kramer knew how to cast his movies. He knew how to corral all these great actors and jam them into one movie. This is just another example of that. And this is, as I mentioned, it's an adult picture with, and keep in mind, 60 years ago, with, for its time, graphic language about sex and dealing in important themes. The main one being Nazism and the rise of fascism, while people rationalize their way out of doing anything to prevent it. So I watched it again last night, and it's more relevant now, perhaps, than it's ever been. I couldn't believe how relevant it was to what we're all experiencing now. It's just amazing. Anyway, it was also nominated for 8 Academy Awards, when the Academy Awards used to mean something back in the day, including Best Film and Actor and Actress and Supporting Actor. And I think it won a couple for its black and white cinematography and art direction. But it's just a great drama based on a very famous and notable book, which I still have to read one of these days. But I love the movie. I've seen it many times, and I highly recommend that if people are looking for a good classic movie, they check this one out. It is available to rent on Amazon Prime. I think it's like $3 or $4, and it's worth it. It's a long movie too, so you get your money's worth.
Well, if the still pictures are any indication of the good acting in this movie.
Yeah, look at that one. Vivian
Mhm.
Lee and Lee Marvin. Oh man. There's a scene in which the character that Lee Marvin plays, he's like this faded baseball player who thinks he's going into a prostitute's cabin, and it turns out to be Vivian Lee's cabin. And
Oh,
I don't know how they faked this scene, but she takes her shoe and basically bashes his face in. Uh,
wow.
yeah, and I don't know how fake that was. It didn't look faked at all. Anyway, it's a great scene. There's a number of great scenes in this movie. Yeah, Oscar Werner there in that scene, he plays the ship's doctor with heart problems, and he kind of develops a relationship with this expatriate woman who's being exiled from her country, and she's a drug addict, and so he's kind of supplying her with drugs to make her go to sleep. It's a ship of
Wow.
fools. This movie. It's about all these people who are like doing all these things, and they're totally oblivious to the fact that they're doing all these things, which are just making them look like clueless.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I love this
All right.
movie.
We're
Yeah,
gonna recap it. We started it off with The Amateur, which you said
meh.
has predictable plot twists. Not a bad movie, just the standard stuff here. You said Rami Malek is good, but the movie, yeah, you said meh. As
Meh.
far
Yeah,
as Warfare, you said it's intense, it's grueling, it puts you right in the middle of the battle scene better than any movie has before, but it is not a fun experience because you're right in the middle of the battle scene.
yeah,
You said
yeah,
it's an excellent film if you can stand it. You recommend it, but not for the squeamish at heart. Can't do
yeah,
that.
yeah,
As for thank you very much, you said it makes a great case for the genius of Andy Kaufman's art and comedy. It's compelling with never before seen footage, and you are recommending. Thank you very much. Sacramento, you found some things to like about this movie. You said it's kind of a man child comedy and that it was uncomfortable, but it was also, you said, sweet and unpretentious with some good acting and some good messages as well. You enjoyed Sacramento. The Luckiest Man in America. You said of this one, would have been better to focus on the main character, the man, instead of the scandal that he was involved in. You said the music was used a little strangely in this movie, but you called it worth checking out. So, The
yeah.
Life List, we both loved this movie. I loved it. You really liked it. I loved it. I don't know. You said It's one of the better Netflix movies. It's streaming. You called it relatable with a nice story full of genuine emotion, and you said it's a good movie, and I think
Yeah,
so too. The
me
Lightfoot.
too. And Netflix, keep making movies like this. We love
Mhm.
that when you make movies like this. Yeah. So
Please, more movies
yes.
like this.
Yeah.
The classic movie recommendation of the week, Ship of Fools. You said it's relevant to our current times in an amazing way, and you said it's a great movie. So you want to celebrate Ship of Fools this week. Check it out. You said it's streaming. Did you say where it was streaming?
Yeah, it's available for rental for $3 or $4 on Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Okay, well there you go.
And it's
And
worth it. It's worth
there
it.
it is.
Yeah.
I love it. At the movies with Tim Sika. Thank you, Tim.
Thanks, Kim. Talk to you next week. You have a great weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
At the movies with Tim Sika. I saw your comments rushing in. Uh, yeah, I know you guys are interested in some of the movies that Tim was talking about. Teacher Lori says just mixed up Ship of Fools with Voyage of the Damned or Voyage of the Damned in my head. Both good movies and good books. Eileen says another great film recommendation from the past, which speaks to the present. Isn't it interesting how we look back at these movies and or books or whatever it may be, and we think how weird that it's so applicable to the current times we're living in. Yeah. Um, Yvonne says another Black Mirror on Netflix as well. So she's looking at that series on Netflix. Yeah. Thank you, Tammy. I'm so glad you enjoyed Tim's segment here on the After Party Live and that you guys are interested in movies as well. So very good. Kristen Stewart takes such varied roles. She's a chameleon, says Yvonne. Yes, she was in the Sacramento movie, I think that Tim mentioned as well. So, all right, good comments. Thank you, everyone. The After Party Live at the Movies with Tim Sika. We do it every Friday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. You can always find Tim right here, and we love to have him. And there it is. All right, let's move on to some of the other stories that I have selected for you today, including this story. Here I have it. Here it is. The story about uncharted waters, which includes a virtual dive happening in Hawaii in waters so deep that they haven't really been charted or mapped. And how are we going to look at them? By camera. We get to go down and check it out. We can go along for the dive and see what they find in these uncharted waters off the coast of Hawaii. So I'm pretty fascinated by this story. This is a virtual dive that takes us deep, deep down with underwater explorers this week as a remotely operated vehicle takes cameras below the surface to investigate these uncharted waters off the coast of this Hawaii. Most of them never surveyed before. Release from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says the dives may reveal some pretty surprising discoveries like marine life, unknown to science, undiscovered seamounts, maybe. We could see some shipwrecks and more. So that's pretty exciting. And I think I would tune in for the live feed of that, of what's going on underneath the surface as they see and look at this areas that we have never seen before. It's fascinated by all of this. The scientists are using the information that they collect in this project called Beyond the Blue, illuminating the Pacific, to establish a baseline assessment of the ocean environment and their understanding of marine life and their habitats. And as funding for studies like this kind of winds down, I want to pay attention to them because it seems like we could get some real good information out of this. So the hope is that by making this public and allowing us all to go along on this uncharted dive, that the public will be informed about issues that affect marine life and habitats, but that it will also help scientists make decisions about the unexplored underwater environment. We're going to see some exotic sea sponges and some coral structures. So the feed from NOAA starts today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's already rolling. So again, this is a live feed. If you want to check it out, I will put it in. I'll put the link in So you can check out and see the rover that's down below and mapping what's going on there. I'll put the link in the chat just in case later you want to check it out. And then let's go to the video and see what they're looking at right now, because I'm kind of fascinated by how beautiful it is down here. Here we go. I have to get rid of the picture.
Like beautifully structured data management and curation on the ship. So thank you, Jordan and Anna, for making our lives so much easier.
Yeah, this is my first time too. So
you want to use
lots, and then all the rock samples are going to be sent to the Oregon State University Geologic Repository.
Awesome.
Then on this one, we're also taking some samples for environmental data DNA. So that is also a new thing that we are doing on this cruise.
And what do we do with those?
I don't know yet.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, I mean, typically when I think about eDNA samples, we usually filter them and then sequence them and store the data on the sequences in a public repository. Is that right?
Yeah, so we're taking eDNA from this biologic samples. So we'll take a little piece of this for genetic sequencing, and then we'll also be taking water samples, which, we run through a filter and then
whatever creature that is, I don't think I've ever seen anything like it before.
Familiar with eDNA, I think it's kind of like doing magic, because you basically get, it's hard to understand exactly how what we find in water, for example, corresponds to the abundance or the size of organisms that are around. But eDNA does give us a snapshot, like a qualitative snapshot of what types of organisms live in this environment. So it can be a great way to characterize biodiversity when you're in a place that has low density of organisms, or maybe we just don't know a lot about it yet. So it's something that's relatively new in science, maybe. I mean, like 10 years ago, I don't remember ever talking about eDNA, and now it's on every single cruise I've been on. It's a really great way to catalog biodiversity in the ocean.
So that's a little bit about what they're doing down there. I could just keep watching that over and over and over again. The things they're finding and sampling and testing are fascinating. So I put the link in the chat if it at all interests you. I know we're getting to the end of the show, but why not do a lotto of the day? We missed it yesterday because I couldn't find a lottery story, but I do have a lotto of the day today. And this is it's a pretty good one. It's a story about out of Maryland about being gifted a ticket. And you know how this works out. Sometimes you get gifted a ticket and the person who gave it to you is looking at you as you win, like, oh, this family member gave this woman from Maryland a lottery ticket. She said she rarely plays the lottery, but she got a ticket from a family member, and it was a $3 bonus crossword scratch-off ticket. She said, we were visiting a sick family member back in March, and as we were leaving, he just handed it to me. And this ticket turns out to be a $30,000 winner. The player said she wasn't convinced. She said, I knew what I was seeing couldn't be real, so I tried not to get too excited, even though I knew it wasn't what it looked like. I put it in a safe place. She said the reality didn't set in until she showed the ticket to her relative. She said, I watched his face as I showed him the ticket, and that told me all I needed to know. Now, it doesn't say in the story whether or not she shared the winnings, the $30,000 winnings, with the relative that gave her the ticket. No, it doesn't say that, but it does say she won some big money. I love it. I showed it to him and I watched his face. His face was like, give me back my ticket, is what it was. All right. We'll end the show with kind of an interesting design. This is happening in Milan, Italy. And it is Design Week in Milan, and the perfect time to unveil what is called a city wave, which is a very interesting building. Look at this. You see the roof is like this wave. It's a new area, like office park, industrial kind of, not industrial, but office park kind of area. You see the other two new taller buildings in the background. And now they have what's called the wave. The wave is just about finished. It is office development in Milan, Italy, topped with this long, sweeping roof. It is topping out the ceremony during Milan's Design Week. The building is almost finished. This curved roof you can see here will be almost completely topped in photovoltaic tiles. When it is finished, it will be ready to absorb the sun. Yeah. It's a cool looking building. And it provides shade down below for the people that are underneath the walkway. I have another picture of it from above looking down so you can see the wave. It's interesting, an interesting concept, this wave-like roof structure connecting these two different buildings. It's part of the City Life development, which already has these completed skyscrapers. The designer says they did it so that it didn't compete with the trio of towers. Named City Wave, the project consists of 2 office buildings that are 12 stories and 22 stories high, connected by what really is this giant canopy designed to be a covered public space that also acts as a gateway to the wider development. Do you like it? What do you think of the wave? As again, provides some shade, a gateway to those 2 taller buildings in the back. Rather than proposing 2 towers, they say, we envision 2 courtyard buildings defined not by their height, but by connection, bringing the scale between the neighborhood and central towers. This sweeping canopy spans the void, serving as a tangible memory of Milan's historic axis, while a colonnade of slender steel columns transforms the open space into a new public realm for the entire city. It's kind of cool. It's so funny because when I think of Milan, think of the history and old buildings, and this isn't what I would have pictured. Here's the rendering. So there's what it looks like right now. And here's the rendering of what it will look like when it's all done and complete. So you're seeing it under construction, but here's what it's going to look like when it's finished. It's an interesting skyline. And you can see the photovoltaic tiles up on top and the park-like structures or park-like setting down below the wave. It's kind of cool. So there you go. And that, my friends, is the After Party Live on a Friday. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you for always supporting the show and for spending your time. And I hope to see you on Monday. Mark will be back on the Mark Thompson Show, as he should be. So that will be good to have him back. And then we'll do Hide in Your Cave Monday. As always, if you have any suggestions that you want to pass my way or comments, you can find me at kim@theafterparty.live. And I love to get messages from you. And thank you to everyone who has sent them. And have a great weekend. Really make it the very best weekend that you can. And I'll see you next time on the After Party Live.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Oh my goodness, I have no idea. Let me pay close attention, but I don't know.